Oh, wow. Dave and Tara, thank you so much for that moment there. That was special. Can we give them another round of applause? I didn't know they were going to do that whole deal and opportunity to dance, and that had another layer of meaning and purpose and significance for me, and I'll share a little bit of that here tonight. So apologies if I get a little emotional, but that welcomed some fond, kind memories for me. To the team at Dementia Together, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Ben Aaker. I am a husband and father of 2 boys. I'm a marketing professional and a volunteer, and perhaps more relevant for the folks that are in the room and why I'm up here today is I'm someone who has been impacted by a parent who lived with younger onset Alzheimer's. The first time I met Cindy Lazinski was at Timberline Church, where she and one of the pastors, Dick Foth, were talking on the topic of forever grateful. And one of the quotes that always stuck with me, and in many ways has become an anthem for my life, is this, that love is the accurate assessment and adequate supply of someone's needs. I'll say it again because I think it bears repeating and it has so much richness and significance, and that is that love is the accurate assessment and adequate supply of someone's needs. And I love this quote because it reminds me that love is not a one-size-fits-all. There's not a template to love, and that unconditional love is not a type of love that's dependent nor bound by conditions, but rather a kind of love that persists through thick and thin, through the good times and the bad times. We all have people in our life that are just downright easy to love. You know, their set of conditions that they bring to the table are just delightful, and loving them is just easy. It's natural. It's in many ways effortless. Can you all think of someone in your life that's like this, just easy to go through and journey? Well, my mom, Debbie Aaker, she was this type of person. Born in 1951 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, she had a passion for horseback riding, hiking 14ers, and water skiing. One of her patented tricks was she would drop a ski and ride slalom, and then with her other foot, she would stick it into the tow rope and ride 1 foot bent over on one ski. You can do that in Minnesota because there's so many lakes and there's no wake. You can't really do that in Colorado because we don't quite have that. She was small in stature, but she was mighty, and she was strong. And late into her life, she was still doing headstands every single day, still keeping us up on our toes. She and my dad, Don, married in the mountains of northern New Mexico in 1970. 2 young hippies on a mission to find purpose and peace, right? Believe it or not, I don't know if you can see this photo, but this is their wedding photo. It's awesome. I'll share the album another time, but it's fantastic. And they soon found peace and purpose in their Christian faith. And rumor has it they were on some substances in the moment that they found their faith. And they were called to a life of humanitarian service and missions work in that moment. And to say the least, there was a trajectory that was shifted at that moment in their life. As humbled servants, they packed up their homes and me and my 3 older siblings and shipped us off to all sorts of parts of the world. I grew up living in Guatemala, and ultimately were carried and taken and lived in northern Iraq, Kurdistan, the area that the largest people group without their own country inhabit in northern Iraq. While living in Iraq, my dad had started an NGO called Wells of Life, where they would go into these remote villages in northern Iraq. And after the first Gulf War, Saddam Hussein had destroyed the water supply through chemical warfare of these villages. And so my dad would go into these villages and drill water wells to restore the water supply there. And while we were there, and while he was gone for weeks on end, my mom would step in and courageously step out in the midst of, at the time, civil war. She would walk into the bazaar, into the marketplaces. There'd be men everywhere, the Peshmerga, they'd call them, the Kurdish rebels who were in battle carrying their RPGs and their AK-47s. And she would just pop on down to the market, pick up some naan, talk her perfect Kurdish, and just stroll on through. And she wasn't extremely outgoing, but she never met a stranger, and she was the type of person who is brave and curious and courageous. And she had this ethic about her to meet people who were different than her, and it helped her thrive. Debbie Aaker, she loved well. And these characteristics of her, these conditions, were equally easy to love. When I was in high school, I played football, and which, by the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I just won the Minnesota Vikings Packers tickets. So, boom, Craig, take that. I was texting my brother. I said, I have something very important I have to go do. I need you to go buy these. So I think he won him. So if anyone was, Skull Vikings. So I played football in high school, and my mom had never cared about team sports in any way. She never really watched football. But when she saw it was important to me, she became the biggest and loudest fan. Now, she had never seen the movie Rocky, I can almost guarantee, but every single time I'd step on the field, she'd say, "Eye of the Tiger, B! Eye of the Tiger, B!" And B was her nickname for me. It was short for Ben, I'm guessing, or baby. I was her baby, her youngest child. And she knew that if she wanted to love Ben, she needed to be present and showing an interest in what interested me. Accurate assessment, adequate supply of someone's needs. When she wasn't at my high school football game, she was either mentoring troubled teens at the local juvenile detention center or caring for her mom, who at the time, when I was in high school, was living with dementia. She'd spend every single day at that care facility for years, building relationships, loving her mom, caring for her, serving her, knowing all the different community members within there, which I can understand may not be surprising. There's tons of beautiful and compassionate caregivers in this room tonight, but what you need to know is my mom didn't have a great relationship with her mom growing up, and yet she still found a way to love her through those hard times, and she still showed up. My mom, she loved well, and her conditions were easy to love. In 2011, she turned 60, and that's the time when her conditions began to change. Like many in the room have experienced firsthand, we were about to embark on a 9-year journey that would present challenges that we were not prepared or equipped to handle. We learned quickly that the dementia journey can be overwhelming and hopeless. And for the person living with dementia and their care partners, it can feel scary and lonely. And in the midst of that storm, there was Cindy. I wrote an angel. That's the way it felt to me. It was an angel that had showed up. And she not only helped us navigate the complexities of my mom's unique and challenging conditions, which I've come to learn are vast in many different ways. We all may have some sort of connection to dementia, but it presents in so many unique ways and challenges. But she gave us resources and guidance on how we could love her well on the journey. And that was so important to us because we wanted to love her well. We wanted to love her in the way that she had loved so well, but we didn't know how. And she gave us these different tips, and I was running through these, trying to journal and look through my old notebooks, and it's choose to be kind instead of right. Approach from the front with a smile and kind tone of voice. Speak clearly and simply in everything that you say. Minimize questions, avoid contradictions or corrections or criticisms. Be simple, be plain in that language. And so with these resources and guidance, we were able to better understand my mom's unique needs and meet those needs. I found myself spending more time of doing things that brought peace and joy to my mom and less time trying to force activities that may have been hard for her or no longer an interest for her. When I sensed she was getting anxious or agitated, we'd go on long drives. There was something about like a destination for her, that you get in the car and we're just going somewhere, that just created this peace over her. And we could just drive for hours, and we'd do the Horsetube Loop to Wellington, to all around Colorado, and just go on these massive drives, stopping at every horse place I could find that had horses to look at, looking at mountaintops and doing that. There was just something about going somewhere that gave hope and purpose at that stage. I remember one time my sister walked into the kitchen to find her eating a bowl of cereal, or so we thought. After further inspection, we noticed that the orange little square pieces that were floating in her milk, well, those were Cheez-It crackers. And the milk, well, that wasn't milk, that was vanilla coffee creamer. And, hey, she was happy, and we were really practicing that whole agree, don't correct thing. And so we let her delight in her new invention, and she enjoyed it. So it was these type of moments where you just kind of let go, and you let them find their joy and find their peace. When we moved her into a care facility to better meet her needs, she was afraid, and she struggled immensely in that season. And that transition was really hard. And nights were exceptionally hard for her. And my sister and I, who's here tonight, her and I would swap off taking night shift to make everything go as smooth as possible. And so I'd put my young kids to bed, and then I'd head over to Dairy Queen and pick up a vanilla ice cream cone. And then I'd head on over to the care facility, and just in time for the bedtime routine. And I'd lay there. We'd look at photos on the TV of our family. We'd play music. I was mentioning earlier this emotional moment, the amount of times I got to still dance with my mom. It was special. I have these moments where I got to dance with her. I got to lay there and read her Bible verses and play hymns until she fell asleep. Accurate assessment, adequate supply of someone's needs. As her memory faded more and more, we would have moments where we weren't always family in her eyes. I know that brings hurt for people. That's a hard season to go through. And at that time, I learned on a whole new level the importance of a smile and the importance of kind words and a warm embrace. I'd sit in the parking lot of her care facility with tears in my eyes, knowing that I'd have to walk in there and see my mom in a difficult state. But I'd say a prayer. I'd ask God to give me love, ask him to show me ways that I can bring moments of joy. I'd wipe those tears, and damn it, I'd put the happiest, most joyful smile on my face, and I'd walk in there and embrace and hug and handshake every single person that I met that day. They didn't necessarily know me. I knew every one of those folks. They were dear friends to me. And when my mom would see me, she'd either see a new but friendly face, or she'd see her beloved bee, her baby, and would well up in tears of gratitude and give me a huge hug. And loving her well in that season meant giving her more and more of those moments. So when I felt she was getting agitated or needing a break, I'd leave for a moment. I'd walk away. I'd walk around the corner just long enough for the memory of our moment to fade. And I'd reappear around the corner, ready for a casual smile or another warm, tear-filled embrace, a moment of joy. And it looked different time after time, and I would repeat this 10 times. I don't know if that's good, but I knew it made her smile, and it gave me hope, and it gave me joy on the journey, and I believe it did for her as well. That those moments were what I lived for. Those were the moments that I knew were special. And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here to encourage those on the journey that there is hope and that there is joy to be found. And that you can choose love, that kind of love that is not bound by a certain set of convenient conditions, but rather the kind of love that bears more, the kind of love that believes more and hopes more, the kind of love that endures more, a kind of love that finds a way to meet someone's unique needs. And so by supporting Dementia Together, you can make a real difference in people's lives. Those folks that are living with dementia and those who are caring for them. And so as you think about how and in what way you can give tonight, there's so much that when you contribute, you're funding education and training programs for senior care professionals, businesses, and different community members. Your donations will provide, as Cindy had talked about, those enrichment opportunities to help folks live well and stay connected. And it will give hope by supporting ongoing efforts to improve outcomes for people living with dementia. You see, when you give to Dementia Together, you're not supporting just an organization. You're supporting a community of people who are committed to helping each other through some of life's most difficult seasons. You're supporting an organization, as Cindy had said, that believes that living well with dementia should be the expectation and not be the exception. So please, if you're able tonight, I ask that you would consider donating and giving what you're prepared and able to do. And if you decide not to give tonight, I understand. I just ask one thing, that when you go home tonight, you'll open your cabinet, you'll grab a box of Cheez-Its, a little bit of dairy, and you'll try my mom's pioneered product of Cheez-Its and creamer. Thank you all.